The UK housing market will not crash in 2021. I know that's not what everyone's saying. People are talking doom and gloom and expecting some sort of crash, particularly after the stamp duty holiday ends. But in this video, I'll share with you a couple of graphs which when you see, you'll see that hardly anyone is talking about this stuff, but they will show you why property prices and the UK housing market will not crash in 2021. Welcome to my February update on the UK housing market for the rest of 2021. My name is Ranjan Bhattacharya. I've been investing and developing properties for 30 years. You may have seen me on the hit Sky TV show Property Elevator, or you may have attended one of our Baker Street property meets in central London. If you're new here, make sure you subscribe, hit the bell icon, because we release tons of new videos each and every week, all helping you keep on top of your property investing game. So of course, the easiest way to get tons of views on YouTube is to predict doom and gloom. You'll get loads of views, but that view might not necessarily be correct. In this video, I'm going to share with you a couple of graphs which you really need to see, and they will demonstrate exactly why I believe property prices ain't due for a crash in 2021, and why, if you're a savvy property investor, you will use this knowledge to make sure you make the right investment decisions in the rest of 2021. Yes, people are on furlough, businesses are failing, shops in the high street are closing and all of that. And as a result of that, people have been predicting doom and gloom crash of the housing market. I don't know, for the last couple of years, I think, even before COVID, people were predicting this. But this has not happened. In fact, Nationwide Building Society reported a 7.3% growth in the UK housing market in 2020. And 5.3% of that growth was from March 2020, when the lockdown began. In London during the pandemic, the average price of a house hit £500,000 for the first time ever. Of course, people are saying that, the only reason prices are going up is because of the SDLT holiday, the stamp duty and land tax holiday, which means there is no stamp duty for buyers of properties under £500,000. And this, of course, this holiday ends on the 31st of March, and people are saying, well, there's going to be doom and gloom after that, we're going over the cliff. Now, yes, the stamp duty holiday has meant that many people have brought forward their property buying decisions. Stats from the land registry show that housing market transactions are up 16% last year. But can all this rise in prices be really explained away by the stamp duty holiday? Now, in some parts of London, prices have risen 10%. Now, if the average house price in London is £500,000, that's a £50,000 increase. If you buy a £500,000 property, the stamp duty saving is just £15,000. So how does stamp duty alone explain the rise in prices that we have experienced over the last year? So why are property prices going up? Of course, we're at record low interest rates, and there's even the prospect of negative interest rates being discussed. But I don't think that's going to happen, but that's a subject for another video. We're, of course, not building enough homes. People are living for longer, and there's a massive shortage of housing supply here in the UK. But the biggest reason why property prices are going up is one reason which I don't see anyone else talking about or joining the dots in this way. It is the government. It is the government going around quantitative easing or stimulus packages or whatever they want to call it. Whatever they call it, it's printing money. And I've been banging on about this since 2009, quite frankly. Every time a government, this is Economics 101, every time a government prints money and puts more money into the economy, without a corresponding increase in productivity or production in the nation, then what happens is it results in inflation of asset prices. Think of it this way. A brand new Ferrari costs £250,000. If everyone was suddenly given £250,000, being as though Ferrari only make 1,000 of these a year, what would be the effect on the price of Ferraris if everyone suddenly had £250,000 to buy one? Of course, they would go up in price because the production of those cars is limited. And this is what's been happening in the Western world. Money has been printed like it's going out of fashion, quite frankly. And when you do that, it means that anything that's finite, particularly things like property, go up. Now, we haven't kind of noticed how much money printing has gone on. And one of the reasons for this is that we've done a lot in the UK, but so has everyone else. I mean, the European Central Bank, the Americans, they've printed tons of money. And that means that in the UK, relative to other leading economies, we've managed to keep our currencies relatively stable. Now, just look at this graph. This is frightening. Now, this is going to shock you. 1 in 5 of all US dollars ever created were actually created and printed in 2020. Now, that phenomenal money printing exercise practically gives every other country in the world a license to print a little bit of money, because relative to the world reserve currency, no one should notice. What have we done here in the UK? Well, after the 2009 financial crisis, the Bank of England went about printing a ton of money. And what did we see with asset prices, property prices? We saw that once the recession, if you like, recovered, unemployment was back to normal. When we got to about 2012 and onwards, the effect of putting all this money in the economy started to take its hold on property prices. And we saw the emergence of an asset price bubble, and property in particular went up and up and up. Now, the money printing, or quantitative easing, that as we like to call it in the UK, has been colossal in 2020. It's been almost, well, it's dwarfed the money that was printed in the aftermath of the financial crisis, and is soon to reach the 1 billion mark. And this money printing ain't going to stop there. I mean, Biden is talking about a $1.9 trillion stimulus package. That means a hell of a lot more money to print. By the way, I don't know why he stopped at 1.9 trillion. Why not go the full hog and do 2? Of course, these are just my views. Who really has a Scooby-Doo what's going to happen with property prices? If you think differently or you agree, put your comments down below. And don't forget, smash that like button and subscribe for new videos. So let's bring this back to property and in the UK. A lot of money has been shoved into the economy. A lot of debt has been created. Debt is cheap. And then what happens is all this money that's been pumped into the economy is competing to purchase finite assets. And that means property prices will go up. Now, savvy investors will take advantage of this situation in a couple of ways. First of all, if you have cash, you'll recognize that that cash is eroding value if it's stuck in a bank account. And savvy investors will also recognize the power of leverage. If you have cash to put down as a deposit and you borrow the rest on a loan, not only do you pay record low interest rates on those loan repayments, but you lock in the value of the debt stays the same as of today. So as the price increases of the asset that you're buying, the value of the debt stays frozen. So the real winners out of quantitative easing are the owners of assets, particularly income producing assets. The number one strategy to profit from all this stuff that's going on right now is the BRRRR strategy. I've done a separate video on this and I do urge you to watch it. That's all about acquiring assets below market value. That's all about adding value to those assets. And then renting them out and refinancing and keeping on going. You do that a few times, and in a few years, those assets have started to really grow in price. Now, there are a couple of dangers to excessive money printing. And there have been several examples from the Weimar Republic in Germany in the 1930s, and Venezuela, of course. But one of my favorites is what happened in Zimbabwe around about 2009. The government went around printing money, and they printed a lot of it because they thought they could print their way out of all their problems. It got so bad that they printed this, and this has become a little bit of a collector's item. It is the Zimbabwean $100 trillion note. Now, that is a massive amount of money. It's such a massive figure that most of us can't even comprehend. But before Zimbabwe had their financial crisis, their exchange rate was 125 Zimbabwean dollars to $1. Now, if that exchange rate had been preserved, then to cash in that $100 trillion note, there simply isn't enough money in the world to do so. It's such a big number. It got so bad that the Zimbabwean printers of money found that they couldn't really afford the paper to print this money on. It got so bad. So why won't we end up like Zimbabwe or Venezuela or anything like that? Well, basically, we are a little bit of a stronger economy here in the UK. And also, we're not doing it in unison. A lot of major economies are doing it as well. And relative to those economies, our money printing is manageable. Let me give you this as a little bit of an example. I can pop into my local coffee shop and say to the guy, look, I've left my wallet at home. I'll pay you later. Can I get a cup of coffee? And he will give me a cup of coffee and give me that credit. Whereas he might not do that for somebody else. Now, I can do that a few times. I might be able to get a couple of biscuits to go and a bun. But there will come a time when I've pretty much maxed out. I've maxed out on how I can stretch that relationship. And it's a similar thing with countries. Countries with a little bit more standing than others are able to kind of stretch their money printing a little bit, but there is a limit to what anyone can do. And of course, the fact that we are doing it in unison with several leading other economies means that relative to each other, it all balances out. So what is going to happen with property prices in 2021? Well, there's no expert consensus of opinion. There are experts that think it's going to fall a bit. There are experts that think it's going to rise a bit. But I think there is some sensationalist opinion that it's going to crash, and that ain't going to happen. But specifically, my predictions are that once the stamp duty holiday comes to a close, what we will see is a little bit of a dip in transaction volume. That is simply because people have brought forward their property buying decisions and purchases to benefit from this stamp duty holiday. And that drop in transactions will, of course, have an effect in April and May. But we always have a seasonal bounce and a boom, if you like, in summer, coupled with the fact that in summer we'll be benefiting from the end of lockdown and vaccine rollout. And of course, a massive bounce to the economy as we all get out of our homes and have some fun again. That's it for this video. Make sure you've subscribed and hit the bell icon so you're notified of the next time we upload a new video. Speak to you soon.